D, are you ready to speak and share, my friend?
I'm very much ready to speak and share, Dos. Do you want to introduce our guest?
Oh, Will. Mason Wit Ben Farish. Welcome to the dos&d show, lads.
Thanks, lads.
It's good to be here.
We're so excited, boys. We've got so much to cover, but, we'll just do a very brief intro. Tell us a little bit about yourselves personally, and then we'll get into speak and share. So who wants to start?
Benny can start us off.
Go on, Benny.
I'm pretty basic, Ben. 20, how old are you? 24. Mornington Peninsula, born and bred from the Peninsula. What else do I say? I'm a pretty basic person. Footy, love footy.
Retired?
Dogs man as well. Yeah, retired this year. Went to school down on the Peninsula as well. Love hanging out with my mates, have a nice girlfriend. Pretty basic person. I've started this speak and share journey, which is keeping us busy. School teacher by trade.
Yep.
That's all from me. I'm pretty basic.
Nice, mate. Mason DeWitt. So similar to Ben, always been life on the Peninsula. Went to school with you boys, which is unreal.
Thanks, mate. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. a few years below you. So.
I'm sure you looked up to us. Yeah.
Actually used to bully me at lunchtime. So
that's right.
But yeah, love me footy. Love getting down for a surf. Got a lot of close mates and family on the Peninsula, so always have strong ties there. But yeah, into speak and share work now as well. Still teaching a couple of days as well, but I'm sure we'll jump into that. Yeah.
And then you're missing a third member, so
we are.
Skags.
Yeah, Skags at the warehouse. He's packing hoodies, I think. Working hard. Yeah.
Someone has to do it, lads.
Got another younger fella, Sam, who started with us full time. So I think he's making sure that Sam's getting to work. So the two of us have made the trip up to the city, and we're looking forward to it.
That's it. Shout out to Nath. He's the one working behind the scenes. So we'll come and do this, and he's chipping along.
So you guys are the face, and
we are
Nath,
the face.
the real, in and under.
Nathan's probably more the face, to be honest.
Yeah, he's on the socials. Yeah, he's a rooster. He knows it as well.
Do you guys have actual titles within speak and share? Like, for example, is there a CEO? Is there a COO? And who? Like, where's the hierarchy in this whole?
I think we're all chief executive officers, which I hate to say, and then directors as well.
Lovely. Is that on the business
You do
card?
not hate to say that, mate.
No, not at all. Love to say.
Ben signs off on every email saying that.
Why not?
Director and CEO
Gotta
or
claim
whatever it is.
But yeah, we're all equal. We're all directors at this stage. Hopefully it stays that way.
Well, that's good. There was no, arguments around who gets what or what role, who's who. None of that.
Nah, just put the three of us on there, and then as Ben said, we've got another gentleman that works a couple of days for us, and then we've got 3 board members as well. So they all have specific roles like on their board title as well.
Now, I know you boys, you've done this before, so you should be pros at the podcast game. You've got your own, hopefully, pod coming out pretty soon later on. But I guess start from the start, speak and share. What is it? How did it start? Obviously, you three are really good mates, so it probably started with you three as friends.
Yeah. Well, it started just coming up to 2 years now. So it was 2020, the three of us, so myself, Mason and Nath were lucky enough to escape Victoria lockdowns and get up to Darwin. The boys were playing some footy up there. I was trying to play some footy. I was making a fool of myself. And we sort of all went through our own mental health battles up there. I was studying my final placement for uni up there. Lost one of my best mates from the Peninsula to suicide. That hit me pretty hard. And then Nathan and Mace went through their own struggles. And it was probably only until we came back about 3 months later, so Feb 21, where we said, you know what, being a school teacher would be great. We've all been affected. We're all struggling. Let's sort of try and get into the mental health space. Didn't really know what we wanted to do or what it was going to look like. Developed an Instagram called the business Speak and Share. Put up just our logo. Just said 3 mates, 1 aspiration. I think the caption had about 600 shares on Instagram from randoms and people we didn't even know. And we said, shit, this is pretty cool. Like, we can probably do something with this. And from there, we posted a few skit videos, shocking acting in them. Then a serious video of us talking about sort of our vulnerabilities in my garage that went really well on the socials. And then we sort of come back together and said, you know what, this is pretty cool. I think we can sort of capitalise on this. And 2 years down the track, we've got a school program, sporting club program, workplace program, run community events as well, and then do some merchandise stuff as well. So it's keeping us busy. Yeah,
and we've also jumped into, we're a registered charity now as well, which is awesome for an organisation like this, being under the title of mental health. So to be able to run those programs, we work under Speak and Share as well, and then to bring other people on as well is, it's pretty cool.
It's awesome what you've created, and I can't wait to dive in a little bit deeper around your team and what you've actually created, the board and everything like that. But the footy club aspect's really interesting. So talk to us a little bit about the initial reactions you guys got when you launched Speak and Share, because obviously you've talked about your footy club ties. Talk to us about, like, inside the change rooms with the boys. What was the reactions like?
Yeah, so that was probably our biggest one when we first put out the video on our Instagram, and we were vulnerable and sharing our stories, and we said, shit, we're all part of footy clubs. Like, what are the boys going to think? Like, what's going on here? Like, this is pretty open and honest from us. But we said, if we want to create change and we want to do this, like, we've got to put it out there.
Yeah.
And it was completely opposite to what we were thinking. Everybody was getting around it, like they were relating to the videos that we're putting out. And that's been our biggest, I guess, success area, has been going into local sporting clubs and footy clubs, and it's a place where everybody chooses to be. And for us to come out and run our program there and connect through the videos and the merchandise that we do, everybody is getting behind the message, and it's only creating a positive culture for all that are involved there.
So just to jump in quickly, when you're at your footy clubs previous to Speak and Share, would this have been a shock to, say, your teammates when you launched this, or were you always driving some kind of mental health message prior to it, or have any interest or being outspoken, or was it like, because I know when we launched dos&d, my biggest fear was we've both haven't really talked much about podcasting or putting ourselves out there, and then suddenly next day we're saying, hey, we're podcasters and we're doing this thing, and everyone's like, well, what the hell, like, why?
Yeah.
Did you guys feel something similar around mental health?
I think pre-COVID, mental health wasn't really spoken about within footy clubs. Stereotypically, footy clubs are environments where particularly males don't speak about what they're going through. And I think post-COVID, everyone sort of realised that it was a really tough time. Everyone's got something going on, so we sort of need to spend a bit more time and money on it. And obviously down on the peninsula, we lost a couple of mates to suicide that were involved in footy clubs, and everyone was obviously greatly affected by that. So I think post-COVID, there was definitely a need and a want for sort of what we're doing, and the boys definitely respected it.
I think now, like, we realise everybody within a footy club are quite happy to speak about how they are going. It's just finding the time and the space to do that. So that's what our program is very much based on, is providing an opportunity for people to sit down with each other and to have those conversations, and to seriously check in with each other.
So how does it, I guess, become an established brand? I mean, for you guys, you know, you're school teachers, so you've grown a brand now that's really, you know, it's scalable. It's going to grow. It's going to get bigger and bigger. It's already at an enormous rate in terms of growth. How do you start a brand like this?
Yeah, it's probably off the back of our community, I would say, and you might have more to add on to that. But we've just been stoked with the people that have bought into the messaging behind Speak and Share, I guess. So there's definitely a need for it on the Mornington Peninsula, and it's an area where, we've found that it's grown quickly, and there's probably a reason behind that. And our programs are being successful because we are providing opportunity for people to talk about it. So I feel like, on the back of our community, people are just buying into the messaging. Yeah,
it's been a wild journey starting a business. Obviously, we started teaching, so the business side of stuff's completely new to us. At the start, we're like, you just get an ABN, a business account, a business name, and then you're good to go. It's a lot more.
Let's start sending the invoices out, later.
Exactly right. But it's a lot more work than we initially thought it would be. And obviously, being a registered charity now, there's a lot more work in that. So that was about a 12-month process to apply for that. So we had Daryl, who was on our board, who did most of the work for that, and that was a pretty lengthy process, going through what we do, where the money's going, all that sort of thing. And we sort of wanted to go down that route to have more transparency in regards to where the money's going. Obviously, working in the mental health space, we don't want to just go in and sort of make cash or footies and do all that sort of thing. So, being a charity means that everyone can sort of see where the money's going, where every cent's going, people that are fundraising, where that's going. It's been a wild journey so far.
How do you actually put that out, like in terms of, do people go to your website? Because I've never understood myself until recently, when you hear a charity and you donate money, where that actually goes to. And then there's obviously people that need to be paid to continue to run that thing. Obviously, it doesn't just go straight to research or whatever. So how do you guys actually, I suppose, share where the money goes, and how does it get distributed?
Yeah, so you have to do like a financial report. So now that we are a registered charity, like we have one of them probably coming up where we have to share like our financial report. And then in terms of employees, it basically means like we render a service for Speak and Share. So the three of us work a certain amount of hours and get paid for that through Speak and Share. And then any employees we bring on, so we have a gentleman, Sam, that works a couple of days for us. He like renders a service for Speak and Share. And you're basically paid to the title of work that you do. So within a charity, there's levels that you can be paid to. So unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to be driving around in Mercedes and living the high life. But we get paid to do what we do for Speak and Share, and anybody that comes on, we can afford to pay them under Speak and Share as well. Yeah.
In terms of, I guess, let's go down a bit of the mental health route. I mean, it all begins from you guys struggling with something that happened to a couple of mates. As young, and we started our potty with this kind of in our mind too, is, all right, we want to help young guys. Like that's our initiative. We want to talk about what young blokes go through in their 20s that don't typically get spoken about. And one of those, obviously, mental health. But when something like that happens to you, you're both up in Darwin, you get that news. what were your feelings, and was it something that you'd never had before?
Yeah, well, it was pretty horrible, to be honest. Josh Curran, who you boys might have known, was a Peninsula boy. I just finished my final placement for uni up there, so I was flying, never have to study again, sort of thing, and got a call from his business partner, who's one of my best mates back home as well, and he's just letting you know, mate, that Josh has taken his life, and whirlwind of emotions for probably the next 3 or 4 months. I remember when I initially found out, I was pacing around the house, punching holes through walls, throwing my pillow, then I'd cry, then I'd be angry, then I'd be confused, and it would all sort of go through that process again. And I was pretty fit when we were up there, and pretty much as soon as I heard that out, or found that out that, Josh had taken his life, I was on the drink pretty much most nights until we were coming home, was physically inactive, sort of shut myself off from my friends and family, sort of just wanted to process what was going on in my own head, and was questioning myself for probably the next 3 or 4 months on sort of why has this happened. You'd go through the text messages. If I replied to that to him differently, would that have changed something? It definitely affected me and still does to this day. So it's pretty full on.
Yeah, and it's hard because especially at footy clubs, you just probably never saw that coming. So maybe talk a little bit more about him and the character he was around the footy club. Was there ever any signs that he was going through anything? Did he talk about it? Was he open?
Yeah, well, he had a episode 10 months prior to him taking his life when we were back in Vic, where he tried to take his life on the Frankston train line. We had a night out and he sort of went missing, and I found him at the Frankston train station, and he tried to take his life, and that was probably his cry for help. We didn't know that he was struggling before that episode, and pretty much from that point on, he was on a downward spiral, was just struggling to sort of socialise. Anxiety went through the roof, depression went through the roof, and he was put onto meds, and it was sort of the start of the end for him, which is horrible. But leading up to that train station incident, there was no signs whatsoever. He was a 25-year-old, had a good partner, house, dog, business, had everything going for him, and looking in, you would have thought he was the perfect person, but he was struggling with internal demons that unfortunately got the better of him in the end.
Have you found, Mace, I guess when you now go and you speak to local clubs, communities, schools, but let's go with footy clubs, for example, where I guess we're talking about that space. What Benny just said then around everything looked the part, so he had everything going for him. Do you notice when you are going and speaking that it's those guys that are struggling, it's the same thing? They all have it together on the outside, but behind closed doors, they don't feel comfortable enough to share, or I guess speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, I guess it's the typical males that we want to stand tall, we want to be shown to be strong, and the old stigma that it used to be weak to speak. So yeah, unfortunately, I think that still definitely is a thing for a lot of males. It's definitely not everybody. But what we've probably found is people are quite happy to talk about it. It's just more, how do you bring it up in conversation, and how do you go about it, and where is the right space to do that? I think there is definitely a level of hesitance to talk about the things that are going on in our life, and I think people probably associate, my issue or my problem is it's just small compared to what other people have got going on. But what we like to say is there is no issue that it is too big or too small, and the things that affect you will affect somebody else differently, and an issue that is smaller might be having bigger effects on you than somebody else. So yeah, I think every person is unique in the way they respond to things and the way that they go about handling their mental health and the way they want to talk about it. But there is definitely a need and what we try to say that a problem shared is a problem halved. So whether that be with a mate or with a psychologist or another registered professional, it's definitely the need to spread that awareness, I think, in the community.
How do you go with talking about prevention, for example? So if somebody's listening and they hear the story that you just shared, Benny, and they go, somebody just pops into their mind right then, there's somebody that they're thinking of, okay, that sounds very similar, and there may be signs of something going on. What would be your advice? How do you start that conversation? How do you bring it up? Do you mention it to other people? Do you take it one-on-one? What do you guys think?
I think speaking and sharing is obviously the biggest factor that sort of comes into role there and plays its role. I think being honest is probably the best policy as well. We've done our mental health first aid and did that last year. If you notice that someone may be suicidal, you have to put them on the spot and say, dos&d, have you had suicidal thoughts? And hopefully you put them in an environment where they feel comfortable. They either say yes or they say no. And hopefully they're honest with that answer. And if they say yes, then you got to get the help that they need. And whether it's calling Headspace, Lifeline, letting their parents know, you got to make sure that they've got a support network around them. But I think, being honest is definitely the best policy.
That was a big thing we learned from that training as well. And we did a suicide prevention course that you actually have to confront them with that question and ask, as Ben said, are you feeling suicidal? And then respond off that question. But another great thing is services like Lifeline and Beyond Blue that you can call. You can actually just call them for advice. You can say, my friend is going through this, or I'm sitting with my friend right now. I'm going to speak on behalf of them, and they will coach you through the best way. Every situation is obviously unique in the way that they are feeling at the time, but you can call those services with a friend next to you. You can do it together, and then you can even have that friend go to the appointment with you, or you can do it all virtually.
In terms of the hoodies, right? We love it. You see it there everywhere. It's fucking incredible. Like seeing just how quickly they're going. I want to know the creative process, right? So there's some nice looking hoodies.
Very nice.
Like, what's your favourites? How do you boys go about coming up with ideas? Are you getting people send you ideas? Are you just picking favourite colours? What's the go?
Yeah, well, clothing's something Nath particularly is really passionate about. Mace and I like our clothing as well. Nath will pick us apart for what we're wearing. But, yeah, fashion's something we're pretty about. And I guess with the hoodies, anyone can create a brand and sort of sell hoodies on their website or through their Instagram. But we wanted to try and put more meaning behind our garments. So each hoodie drop we do, each hat drop we do, whatever it may be, we dedicate that to someone in their story. Or a campaign. So we had the yellow hoodie early this year, which was all about creating change. So challenging that stereotypical stigma that older people don't talk about what they're going through. And there was a new generation coming through. Last year we did hoodie drops that were dedicated to people and individuals and their stories and sort of highlighting what they've learnt through their life. So probably the one that hit me the most and one I related to the most was Chris Ross, who was Nathan Math's strength and conditioning coach at Frankston VFL. 31-year-old, has MND, and he sort of got on our platform and shared what he's learnt through having MND and how important it is to speak and share, etc., etc. So we sort of shone a light on his story, and then from each hoodie sale, we also donate $5 from every sale to a cause of their choice. So obviously did that for free as MND, so trying to help our cause and then someone else's cause as well.
What does it mean to you guys personally when you see somebody wearing a hoodie? That it's not a Instagram stunt or anything like that. You just may see them down the street, or you may just see it in somebody, not a candid Instagram story, I should say, like you just see it pop up and, oh shit, someone's in the background wearing the hoodie. What does it actually mean to you guys?
Yeah, it's awesome. We absolutely love it. Like every time we see somebody walking past in a speak and share merchandise, just means they're supporting our cause and only spreading the message further. But the big thing we love about it is if you're wearing an item of speak and share and somebody else recognises that, it starts a conversation, or especially if there's two people wearing it, at least it's going to be as a smile or a wave as you walk past. And we've actually had a lot of people that have said, they've had people come up to them and say, oh, I know speak and share, and there's been a conversation happen about it. Or even like Beck's story that she was going for a walk one day with her dog, and there was an old man that came up to her and said, I've seen this flower design on this hoodie all everywhere. What's going on? And she was able to explain to that elderly gentleman that, yeah, it's a mental health organisation, and she loves it, that you've seen it around, and explained a little bit about speak and share. So we do have to give a shout out to Nath with the merchandise as well. He's probably the main driver behind our merch, and he's an incredibly talented man when it comes to thinking of the new designs and the new colours and things that go together. So he's right across that as well.
And did you guys have someone, do the drawings and all the designing as well, or is that Nath as well?
Yeah, so we got a graphic designer, Jack Myers, if you know of Jack Myers. Does an elite job, does a bit of work for Furphy as well, really creative. And then we have another local girl, Billy Rose Beavers, if you know of Billy.
No, I don't.
No. She's a weapon as well. So those two, do the hoodie designs and all our other designs as well. Yeah. Do an awesome job. I wish I could draw like them.
Yeah.
I know.
Nath does a little bit on it as well, but... Yeah, better me stay away from the designs.
Well, we may need. We're
looking for maybe a new logo.
Yeah, we're looking to maybe rebrand a little bit. So yeah, maybe we'll have to be pointing in the right direction.
Jump onto it.
We did a podcast ages ago now. It was probably in the first, nearly around about the 50 something. So this is nearly 150 episodes. It was a long time ago. We had a guy come in from a different organisation, goes to schools, talks to young men or young women. They split the genders up and discuss about masculinity and femininity. We did a bit with him. He actually put us through our paces a little bit, put us on the spot, made us be vulnerable, did some of the exercises they do at schools. Do you guys have any exercises that you guys might share at schools that we can potentially do now as a bit of a test amongst the four of us, or just as an example to the listener?
One of our main activities in our session, we call it our dinner date. So we asked the school kids if you've ever been on a date before. There's a kid at the front that puts his hand straight up. Like, yeah, I've been on 10 dates.
On a date before, boys. Start with that.
And then we get, have you boys been on a date before? Yeah.
I've been on a date before.
I've been on a couple. Yeah.
So that's our main activity, dinner date. We split the participants up into groups of 3. They get a menu. So it's got entree, main, dessert, and on that menu it's just got a range of prompts that gets that initial conversation started. I reckon we pluck one of the questions off and ask these. Lads.
Yeah, I can start with that. So they are very different questions depending on who we're presenting to and sporting clubs and schools. We can get one off that we do quite a bit. You're stranded on an island. You can only take 3 people with you. Who are you going to take and why?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
So you'd be one.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
Because I'm sitting right next to him.
No, because you're my best mate and I love you. And, you know, we run a business, so it's very important to keep money flowing in on the island.
There's a real truth.
But you're a mate and he loves you as well.
Yeah, I said that
that's
first.
right, yeah.
Second would probably be, it can just be anyone, can it?
Yeah.
Anyone.
Second,
Doesn't have to be people.
So anything, can it?
And dogs, pets.
Okay.
You'd probably have to say your girlfriend, I would have thought.
Well, that was going to be next. My partner, Garni, she'd be next. I probably should have said her first. We can reshuffle.
No, I'm happy with that. Yeah.
And then probably third, I'm probably going to say... I'm probably going to say a dog noodle. Let's go with that.
Like it.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh gosh, well this is going to sound very like I'm copying him, but
You're not taking his girlfriend, I hope.
well, it's
Come on.
well, it's a good question because people are listening to this and you go, "Gee, I'm going to offend a couple here." But yeah, no, I would take Dos because we generally over the last couple of years, well, a few years now, we have been very vulnerable and open with each other prior to doing dos&d. So been on similar trajectories through life, but also the conversations we've always had is deeper. And even I remember in school being a 15, 16-year-old or even up to 18, having conversations with Dos that I'd never had with any other mates. Really deep conversations about like things like religion, for example, things you don't talk about, like just deep questions. And so I've always trusted Dos very much. So you're coming, mate.
Thanks, mate.
I would take my dog. He's not here at the moment, but Danger, my dog, named after the great Paddy Dangerfield, I must say. He not a Geelong supporter either, but he is there's something just about dogs in there. Like he's always been a rock for me, funny enough. So, and well, I've never. Yeah, he's laughing because I've never. This might be the first official launch of the podcast. I got to say this, but yeah, I'd have to bring Tiana, who's
There it is.
So
there you go.
they're official
Drop
now.
the mic.
They're official.
Yeah, gee, I've held that for
Wow.
a long time.
It's been a couple of years.
Yeah. So yeah,
Monday-
You've got it
Monday
out
roast.
of him.
finally got it out of me. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I'm going red in the face.
Yeah.
What about you boys? Let's start back with you.
There it is.
So what's the next step?
We become the interviewers now. I'd like to know more about this.
Yeah, I know.
So basically we do that dinner date activity. I might ask you one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
And then we'll talk about sort of where we go from that.
I'll just say that we start with that question because it's a light-hearted way to like firstly jump into answering these questions, and it just gets you thinking about some of the important people in your life. Most of the time, people will have more than 3 people that they'd love to take on an island, but if you can narrow down to why you might take those people or a dog or something like that, it's a good way to start off the evening.
If we do want to take items, I would suggest he needs to bring a toothbrush. That's important. Just important. Just
Thanks.
hygiene. Yeah.
One more question. What are you most proud of? That's another one from the
That's a
venue.
good one. What am I most proud of? I'm proud of... it's funny, like, we often don't say it enough, and we had a moment the other day, but I'm proud of a few things in my life, but one in particular, I'm proud of probably just doing what I want to do with my life. So I've had a couple of big moments where, you know, you can go down a path where it might be what someone else wants you to do, and, like, we've stuck pretty true. I have personally with what I want to do. I'm doing a different kind of life. I don't have a normal just 9 to 5 that I work every day. I've got a couple of jobs and create a life for myself. I'm living back and forth between Melbourne and Queensland. Like, it's not a stock standard way of living, but I'm proud of myself for just doing what I want to do.
Yeah, I love that. I'll relate to that. Like, that's probably what I'll be most proud of is starting Speak and Share, going to uni for 4 years, studying teaching. I was like to mum and dad, I want to sort of start this sort of business venture. Don't know where it's going to go. And they're like, what the hell are you doing? They're still like, what are you doing sort of thing? Because they're just stereotypical. You got to work 9 to 5, 9 to 3, whatever a school teacher works. You got to pay your bills. You got to get a house by the time you're 25. You got to move out. You got to do all this. But I'll probably, very similar to you. I just want to do like what I'm passionate about, and I'm proud of sort of us taking the jump at that and seeing where it goes.
Have you felt that pressure as well, or expectation around what you guys are doing? Because it is different. Like,
Definitely is. Yeah. Well, firstly, I was just going to commend you, Dos, on that, because you do put it out on the socials that, is it the typical, is this what you're meant to be doing? Are you meant to work 9 to 5? Are you meant to have a house by now? Are you meant to have things sorted out? So I've always loved watching your journey with that and sharing to people that I know there would be a lot of people in your same situation. And if they're watching your stuff and you're doing exactly what you enjoy doing, it probably makes them take the leap in that field.
Thank
too.
you, mate.
So, but yeah, I guess I would say I've probably felt a little bit similar in that. Like, you go to uni for 4 years to be a teacher. Like, should we be working full time as a teacher now and following that path? That we very much made the decision to jump into Speak and Share, and we made some significant cuts to what we were doing, CRT or employment, to do Speak and Share. And there was, I think, 12 months of us working under Speak and Share where we didn't earn a single cent off it. And we said, like, how long can you go on doing this for, or do you just go back to teaching? But yeah, true to us, we stuck to it, and it's worked out now. And we're just sort of working out now how it can be a sustainable business going forward. And there was definitely a lot of people that doubted us, and probably the older method of you go to uni, you study, and you should work your 9 to 5 as well. And that's how it's always sort of been done. So to us to flip that a little bit was, a few people were unsure what we were doing.
I'm surprised at you saying that, the amount of doubters. I just wouldn't have thought that. Yeah,
I think it's just
like
like
such a good initiative.
Any new like business venture, everyone like either hates you or sort of like, why are you doing that? It's not going to work. And it takes time to sort of prove people wrong as well. And we still have people that we've got to like not prove wrong, but sort of prove right. I think that like what we're doing is working sort of thing, and sort of jump on and behind us because it's doing the right thing. So,
What are you most proud of?
I'm again, I said like I'm copying, but I'm very similar. dos&d is what I'm most proud of, and the reason being too is I remember about very similar to what you were just saying, Benny. 4 years ago-ish, I was at uni studying something that, again, I just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, so I went and did the exercise sports science course that all the young blokes go and do, and just because I thought that would get me a degree and maybe I'll one day be, Collingwood or St Kilda or Sydney.
Or bald. One thing we have noticed is a lot of exercise sports science people at sports clubs are bald.
Next time you go to any sporting event and you see, the players warming up and just watch the bloke that's leading them, I guarantee the moon will be shining off his head. I guarantee it.
It's just something to look out for.
Just something to look out for, and all the listeners as well. But at that time, again, I was unsure. COVID came. I was working in a warehouse to supplement my income while I was at uni, and I wanted to. We both read a book, The 4 Hour Work Week, which is again a bit stereotypical, but it changes the way you think. And you're like, okay, I actually want to live a life where I can travel freely, be on my own terms, make money from anywhere in the world at any one time, and to have created something, because for us to take that step too was very difficult, to actually put ourselves out there and just be at it, like no money. Low listenership, like grow it, low socials, try and grow it. I'm just proud of how we've stuck at it and where we're at and the life we're creating, because again, like, we're very harsh on ourselves, as probably you guys are, but sometimes when you do stop to smell the roses, you go, gee, if I told myself 3 years ago this would be my life, that we're sitting here on, what day is it, Wednesday, having these chats with these kind of people, I'd be like, fuck, like I'd take that any day of the week. So that's what I'm most proud of.
It's so important as well. And we struggle to like stop and smell the roses as well.
Yeah.
Like, if we truly sit back and look at what we've created, 2 years ago we would have said there's no chance we're doing this. So it's it's pretty incredible that you have to do that. And for anybody listening, if you feel like jumping into something, like, our biggest advice would be to stick at it. It's probably not going to happen overnight, and there will be days where it's an absolute grind, but if you want it, if you truly want it and you're willing to work for it, it'll happen eventually one way or another.
What's been the toughest day as a Speak and Share CEO or COO, like as a business owner? What's been your hardest moment and biggest realization? Like, holy shit, this isn't just colourful hoodies. It's a business.
Probably like the 12 months where we weren't getting paid. There was a bit during lockdown as well, I think, where we weren't doing teaching work, so we weren't getting paid whatsoever. And then there was a stage where we were doing a bit of CRT and then doing Speak and Share on the side, and definitely got to a stage where I was like, fuck, I don't know if I can be bothered doing this, to be honest. Like, earning like $300 a week, we're working our asses off, we're teaching kids and then doing this stuff on the side. And it was pretty tough, like when you're putting all your pennies and all your time and everything into this, putting our own money into it. Like, the first hoodie drop was only off our own financials. Was pretty like financially stressful. Then the time we were just putting into it as well, we weren't probably reaping the reward for the time that we're putting in. So it was definitely probably the first 12 months where we all were just going back and forth. Do we really want to do this? And yeah, it's definitely paid off now because I'm full time within the business. So glad we put those hours in for sure.
Yeah, I'd very much relate to that as well. That we were working out of Ben's garage for 15 months of what Speak and Share was.
Fucking grim. The boardroom was the kitchen table.
We've all been there.
Well, you're in our lounge room right now. So this is our studio.
Yeah, Julie Farish making us lunch every day.
Mum doesn't work, so she's just at home, so she'd lurk around the kitchen.
She'll be chipping in with a few ideas, I'm sure.
Exactly. You shouldn't be doing yellow for the hoodie. We don't know what likes yellow.
But yeah, exactly what Ben said. That's it, the same.
Just sort of going back a little bit, those questions you asked us. So how important is it for people listening to ask themselves those questions? But more importantly than that, why do you get people to answer those questions?
Yeah, I think probably echoing what I said before, that it's just providing an opportunity for people to have those conversations and to start those discussions. So we actually presented last night to a local sporting club, and there was a young gentleman there that messaged me afterwards and said, can I actually come and pick up some of those, we have them on cards, the questions, can I pick up some of those cards and take them to do it with my family as well? And him reaching out, that says to me that was a great way that he can just put them out on the dinner table, and that's how they can start to have those conversations. So that's probably what we're most proud of, that we've found an activity and a way that it works for people to start to seriously open up with each other and to check in with each other, because sometimes in life it's hard to, how do we start these conversations off and where does it go to? So a little bit of a structured setting for the initial conversation works, and then you can build off that.
It goes a bit deeper into the mental health side of things from those initial questions.
Yeah, well, some of them hit pretty deep, like with the older age groups that we work with. There's some pretty hard hitting questions in there, and obviously, like working through the entree and then working down the menu, it sort of gets people comfortable with the group that they're working with, and you never know where the conversation ends up. Our first presentation, there was some really powerful conversations. One guy that was seriously struggling in the club had no idea, and that was purely from like the entree question. They answered the first one, and then they just got deeper and deeper. So, yeah, providing an environment where people feel comfortable, you never know where the conversation's going to end up.
What about your own families? I guess as it sparked conversations with your own families and close mates.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, and I don't know if you'll probably watch it, but my old man's probably a little bit of a closed book in this sort of stuff. But the way he probably tackles these sort of things is very different, where he'll just say like, how you going? And you know that when Dad asks that you've got to give him a true answer. And that's probably just the relationship I've established with him, that it doesn't need to be a hard-hitting, open question. But if Dad's asking how I'm going, like, I'm going to answer truthfully, because he's created a relationship with me and him that I know that I can answer truthfully, and he'll always be there to support him. And likewise with Dad, that I'll ask how he's going and how work's going and that. And he definitely answers truthfully as well. Mum's always been really impressive in this space, I would say.
Shout out to Kim.
Yeah, she probably in line with the work that she does as well. So she's always, for us growing up, been a pretty solid rock to ask, to check in how we're going, and being that support with us. So it probably comes more naturally to Mum, I would say, than it does for Dad. Yeah, I
think it's helped with my mates as well, for sure. Since starting Speak and Share, mental health is just a normal thing that we talk about. If one of the boys is having a shit day at work, they'll tell us, we'll go for a walk. Whereas probably pre-COVID, pre-Speak and Share, everyone was just like a closed book. You'd sort of ask your mate, how you going? Yeah, I'm all good, when you know he's struggling. So it's definitely helped like normalise the conversation surrounding mental health, for sure.
What about with the older demographic? So it's good that you talked about your parents. And I feel, so from my dad, and I've never really probably spoken deep enough with the impact he had, but when he was 19, he was living in England. He got an urgent call to go from London to Brighton, and basically opened the door to find my biological granddad had committed suicide. So he was the person to basically find, and he had to deal with that for years and years and years. And I guarantee, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying this, that has affected him so harsh throughout life. But he's never spoke he even jokes about it a little bit, or he can talk that it happened, but he's never really gone deep. But I just noticed that probably in his own behaviour, like we all know, like biologically, like we gain these things from our parents and our grandparents, and if it runs in your family, it can continue on. So, and I know other members of my family, they're so closed off about anything vulnerable. Like you can't talk about, like not just how you're feeling, but like just good or bad or indifferent. Like they just don't want to talk about it. So how do you open up those conversations to that older demographic, get them speaking?
Yeah, that's probably through our community events and like the sporting clubs. There's a few older guys, in particular at footy clubs, that we try and tap into. But with our first yellow hoodie drop this year, changing the culture, we're trying to get like the youth. So if the youth can go home and start these honest conversations with their family and their older parents, grandparents, then hopefully they can sort of spike like a trend and a change in how they think and get these honest conversations started. Because you're right, like stereotypically older people don't talk about, probably males and females don't really have honest conversations about what they've been through and what they've gone through in these hard times in their lives. But if their childs and grandkids can go home and have these honest conversations, it goes a long way in helping them.
Yeah, I think the one that comes to mind for me is we did a video campaign. We went to a nursing home and we sat down, and the traditional, they brought out the cups of tea, the biscuits from the table. They were acting like they were our grandparents,
Elite
like
feed.
going around
Yeah.
every
Saw
10
that.
minutes for a biscuit. Yeah. And we filmed their answers, and they said that when they were growing up and even when they were young adults, like it just was not spoken about, that the person that went and saw the psychologist, like there was something going on there. Excuse me.
What do they call them? The black sheep? Is that what people? Is that what it gets called? Like the black sheep of the family. Some people say that.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
right.
sure.
They literally put in like institutes, like speaking to these old people, you just get pretty much pushed into a mental health hospital. People would look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
They just had like anxiety, depression, which is, it's horrible to think about.
But it was incredible to sit down with them because they said that going through that generation, that's what it was, that it just wasn't spoken about. But now they have their grandchildren coming in and they will ask them these questions, and they'll go out to the community and they see initiatives like ourselves that are working in the space, and it's changing the way they communicate with each other. And often over a cup of tea now, they'll sit down and they will check in with each other and they will ask each other these questions. And it's only probably later in their life that they've realised the importance of doing this. So it's definitely affecting everybody, I'd say.
Yeah.
Do you think, and this is kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit, so do you think currently the way we, a lot of people parent and kids grow up, it's become very much about instant gratification, and we get what we want straight away, and everyone gets an award, like no one loses. It's always like, we don't want to be unhappy. We always want to be on this dopamine hit. We don't want anything bad to happen. We've talked about it with a former guest, Don Elgin, a Paralympian. We're talking about it really deeply around the idea of participation awards and no one loses and everyone gets a ribbon. How do you see that affecting mental health for those younger generations? Because you say you want to impact, like you want the youth to tell the older generations about speaking up. Starting really young, we're kind of already, personally, I feel like kids are struggling mentally because they're not being taught to lose.
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic. I think parents are scared of their kids failing. Purely, I think social media plays a massive role in that. All the parents these days put what their kids are doing on Instagram, and I personally don't think TikTok's any good for kids growing up. Their attention span at school is 30 seconds because all they do at home is watch 30-second TikTok videos. So I think there's a lot that comes into play when you're sort of discussing that. But I think social media has its pros, but TikTok in particular has many negatives. It's affecting kids' mental health for sure. Yeah,
this is probably where like personal opinions come into it. So like my personal opinion on that is that social media and the pressures that come with social media or clothing and the things that we wear these days, like definitely has a significant impact on kids growing up, whether that be positive or negative. But yeah, we see in schools and you'll see after school that kids waiting for the bus, like they're all sitting there scrolling on their phone compared to standing around. There's probably 20 of them there that could be having a conversation. So who knows what they're seeing online these days and the things that they're relating to. But I think that's definitely impacting the way that they see the world and the things that are out there in the world as well. So
on that point, can I ask all of you, do you ever, and this is, I don't know why, but I feel guilty, when you're in public, right? I'm trying to think of if I'm in a doctor's waiting room, or if I'm on a bus, which I'm never on a bus, or if I'm scrolling on my phone, I do think to myself in my head, I'm like, get off your phone. Like, do you feel guilty sometimes for being on your phone when you probably could be, even at home when you're with your fam, like you'll be scrolling and go, I shouldn't be on my phone.
I do for sure. I think it's because everything's so accessible on your phone. Like we got emails, bank account, everything we do. We can just work off our phone. But then at the same time, you get distracted on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. There's just so much going on your phone. I wish I could put it to a side, but you do need it for like your work stuff as well. But if everyone could get off their phones on a train and just talk to each other, you learn a hell of a lot. Like we met so many people since starting like the speak and share journey, whether it's school kids or people playing local sport and having interaction and real interaction with people face to face, like meeting you guys today. You learn a hell of a lot. So yeah, it'd be nice if the kids growing up could just put their phones to the side for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because I actually had a similar like realization the other day. I was waiting to get like an ultrasound on my calf, and I was sitting in this waiting room and I was on my phone as well. And then I put it down for a second. I looked around and everybody there was like scrolling on their phone.
Horrible.
So I actually put it down and like I picked up the newspaper that was in front of me. But if there was people around, like I reckon I would have started a conversation because I had this like realization, and it made me reflect back to when I was living at home where on the couch and Dad used to say to me all the time, like, get off your phone.
I know.
What are you doing? You're just scrolling on your phone. And back then you don't realise, like, and I'm like, now I couldn't even tell you what I was doing on my phone.
Yeah.
And I could have been having those conversations with mum or dad, or watching the same show that we can discuss afterwards, that sort of thing. But yet I was in my own head on the phone. So yeah, it's an interesting point that you bring
It's
up.
uncomfortable too. I went to a 21st, would you believe, the other night, which
Jeez,
is...
take it back.
Yeah, I know.
No, especially for me, yeah. We're winding the clock right back.
Well, we actually, in our last episode, we actually talked about it's 10 years since we finished high school this year.
10 years.
10 years.
For those who finished,
Well, he didn't quite finish, but he got to year 11. He was, close.
Thanks, mate. Yeah.
No, I didn't mean it like that.
I wish I got the participation award back then.
At least you're not going grey. I'm going grey.
Yeah, true.
I finished like
The
6 years
greys-
ago.
Are you going grey?
I was fucked on the side. I don't want to get on camera, but yeah.
Wow.
Serious greys.
Why he wears a hat.
Yeah, okay.
He's got a lovely hat to wear. But when I went into his 21st, so it was a footy club thing, but the guy whose 21st it was, he's moved clubs recently. So anyway, all the boys that I'm mates with, my previous club, they all had a footy function that night. So I'm like, they said, let's get there around 9 o'clock. I said, all right, I'm going to aim for 9. We'll get there. So I've got people to talk to. I walk in, scan the room. Apart from the guy whose 21st it was, did not know a soul. And I'm like, oh, get fucked. Like, worst
It's a
result
horrible
ever.
feeling.
Yeah,
First thing I did was like reach into my pocket. And I remember I said to myself, don't touch it. Like, keep it in there. Like, you don't know anybody. Just try and be in this moment. So I survived about 5 minutes, had a couple of small talk chats. Then speeches. Speeches saved the day. The speeches came and I thought, oh, thank God. And then all the boys rocked up. But it's a very difficult task to actually do. Like, I find it really tough.
Yeah. You've got to be mindful of it, don't you? Like, if you're not, you would just pull it out and you would just scroll. So
Yeah.
it's probably one for us all to be like mindful of. That you need it for work, and there's things that you're going to genuinely need your laptop and your phone for. But I think in everyday life, like, it's something that we can all be a little bit more mindful of, and maybe just communicate with each other instead of
100%.
Well, it's one of the biggest issues I find for myself personally, like trying to, start a business and you always want to be on call all the time, but being able to actually shut off and switch off, it's so important. And even, for example, like, going and visiting, so I've spent a lot of time with my family the last couple of weeks flying back and forth, had some family stuff go on, and like, you're not going to get certain moments with your grandparents. Like, for example, like sitting there in my nan's lounge room, but scrolling on my phone. And I think setting boundaries is really important, and that's what I've had to try and do is like, all right, 6 o'clock, got to turn the laptop off or turn your phone off. With you guys, how have you found balancing running a business and keeping up to date? Because you obviously want to be social media, you're like things you're posting at night, I'm sure as well. Like, it's hard to kind of balance it, I bet.
Yeah, struggle with it. I was struggling with it last year, like late last year. I just want to like grow this thing and make it as big as possible, but then at the same time, you got to have your own time and you got to shut down. So I'm personally getting better at it, but it's something that I need to focus on, especially having like quality time. With my girlfriend, with my family, with my mates, and sort of put that phone to the side, as Mace was saying, is something that I need to focus on. But yeah, it is hard when you got the Instagram going and you put your hoodies up at 7, and then whether you're having issues with the web or someone's putting the wrong address, they're messaging you straight away on Instagram. So just trying to have those parameters, and yeah, I try and get off the Instagram around 8:30ish at night. Try.
That seems pretty late.
You're asleep by 8:30, mate. What are you talking
it's just
about?
so hard because it's so accessible. Like, with dos&d, with the Instagram, like always people floating through the DMs. But yeah, trying to limit your phone time and
I mean, I think our DMs aren't as flooded as yours, but still,
but yeah, it is tough.
I can't stop checking the downloads. That's my issue.
He's always refreshing downloads.
I don't know. I'm fascinated with where in the world it's been downloaded, what episode, why.
What's the weirdest country?
What is it? You check it. I never check it.
There's countries I haven't heard of. I'm not sure if they're VPNs, but it's over 150 countries we get downloaded in now, which is cool. So
that's huge.
Yeah, it's all over the world, which is awesome. Yeah. And I want to get into some more probably silly questions, or maybe some fuck ups along the journey, we love throwing our guests or them throwing each other under the bus. So we'll get there in a second, but I want to ask: have you?
Look out, Skags.
Can't defend himself. But my first question is, just before we do, probably my last serious question: have you ever got any kind of heated pushback from what you do, like negative messages, negative connotations, people having to go at what you do? How do you respond to that if that's been the case?
There's 2 that come to mind for me. We've had people question like finances before. So, and I think it truly comes from a place of like people want money spent in the right way, and especially for a charity and a mental health organisation. So there's definitely no pushback to those people. We love that they're asking about it. So yeah, I guess we've had to be open with the financial side of things. The other one is our merchandise, because they are limited drops, and we like early days we were literally only doing as much as we could afford. That was coming from our own pockets. We used to have like some mums that were genuinely angry at us that they could not go on and buy a hoodie because they had sold out so quickly, and they're filling out their credit card details on the website and putting in their address, and then it was sold out by the time they finished.
Yeah.
So
Horrible problem to have.
Yeah,
Trying to like read us the right acts, like Karen from Brighton, and be like, "You guys need more stock." Like we've just started, Karen. Like,
Give us a break.
We don't just try to do merch. The one that probably comes to my mind as well is. It was probably last year. There was rumours going around that people were going around cars and pulling our stickers off. Don't know if it's true or not, but stuff like that definitely hurts when you hear that sort of thing. But I don't know if it's true or not. But
I mean, everyone says you need haters, don't you? Like you need someone to be the fire under the bum a little bit.
Yeah, well, I like to say haters are motivators. Very cliche, but they definitely do motivate me. Like hearing that, you just want to put more time and effort into what we're doing to make it bigger and hopefully prove them wrong or prove them right.
Saying that though, we've been very fortunate. Like there hasn't been a crazy amount of anything along those lines. Like they're pretty supportive. Yeah.
Well, go on. What's been the biggest fuck up? Because dealing with this industry as well, when it comes to like inventory, ordering things, designs, making sure it's sizing. I'm sure there's a lot of back and forth with customers. But what's the maybe you've both got a couple of stories. One about Skags as well.
I got two that come to mind.
Oh, here we go.
The first one is before we did any hoodie sales, we ordered I think 1,000 stickers. And then we put them on our story saying we've got stickers for sale, message us if you want them. I think we sold like 700 through Instagram DMs.
Wow.
And then we spent the next 3 days driving around the peninsula dropping them off. Like, didn't know you could write an envelope and put a stamp on it and post them out.
I love that. That's personal.
So we had a day, the three of us were in the car, all three of us as well, just a complete waste of time, driving from like Mount Eliza to Tremarna to Safety Beach to Sereno to Rye to Rosebud.
That's
literally
hilarious.
around the whole peninsula dropping these stickers off. That was a big fuck up.
No, I don't reckon that's a fuck up. I reckon that is so good. I love that.
Just dead time.
700 though.
Yeah,
Wow.
700 letterboxes. That's
Yeah.
I guess it made it personal. Like people loved it.
Very
And then-
personal.
But did they even know that? They might not have.
Well, they did, because after every one we dropped off, we sent them a message saying, "Just put it in your letterbox."
Oh.
That's
I was on
classic.
like driving duties. Nathan was on like dropping off, and he was on like Instagram duties, like messaging everyone.
Yeah, that
That's
shit
so
makes a
good.
difference.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
so
you
cool.
can't do that anymore, but it's
Nah.
early days. That's a good story.
And then the second one is probably, I think our first hoodie drop, I'm pretty sure this occurred. We sold 3 different colours. And on the back end of the website, we didn't like tag, so we didn't know what colour everyone bought. So we had to message everyone saying, hey, we've had like a stuff up on the back end. We just didn't like tag the orders properly. Just wondering like what colour you ordered, and had to go through like every single order and correct what colour everyone ordered. So we had 3 different colours, 4 different sizes, so like 12 options all up. And I think that was like 300 garments. So that was a bit of a nightmare doing that.
Yeah, that's the one I was going to share. We had to message 300 people and say, firstly, what colour did you buy, and then what size did you get as well. And then we made a mistake on that one. And then on the next one, we were like, we're all over this. Like we've got the SKUs in, everything like that. But we put the quantities in the SKU. So there was like people purchasing hoodies, and like they were selling out quickly. And we're like, there's been a lot of orders come through. Like, why are they not sold out?
No.
Why are the numbers not going down? And then we realised so I think it sold out in 3 minutes, and they're still up for 12 minutes. And we're like, oh no, we haven't put the quantities in the right part.
Oh no.
So we had to message about 500 people and say, look, we're sorry, that hoodie actually wasn't available. It was already sold out. Can we give you access
Message
to our
Karen.
next one?
Poor old Karen finally got a hoodie for her
That's when they
son.
come out of the woodwork.
And it's,
wasn't it?
sorry, Karen, you've missed out again.
Yeah.
That's shocking.
Apart from that, we haven't had like too many like serious ball breakers yet. Hopefully it stays that way.
They were pretty crazy. But yeah.
I've got a hypothetical. So let's imagine that you've got a high-powered meeting. It could be with a real, like suits in Melbourne, like real hot sort of
Ben likes to call them heavy hitters.
Yeah,
heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. You could be getting a massive, like say, TV
Yeah.
opportunity, or you might get real business deal.
They were on a current affair. The
Yeah, well,
lads.
that's all right. Well, we can even go back and imagine it was a current affair, but you can only send one guy in to go and do all the talking. So you have to get obviously the business deal across the line.
Was it a current affair or 60 minutes?
Current affair?
Yeah.
Current affair.
Yeah.
You have to get the deal across the line. You might have to talk finances. You might have to, you have to charm them a little bit. All that kind of thing. Who are we sending in and who are we avoiding? Who's the last cab off the rank? Who do you send
We're
in
still going to have a
firstly?
business after this.
Yeah.
I'm going to send Mason.
Mace
Smooth talker.
Yep.
Knows what he's doing with the finances. Just
can handle himself under pressure.
Spread pretty evenly across the areas of the business, and Does pretty well under high pressure situations, I reckon. So I'm going to go Mace.
Thanks, mate. We'll go with that.
That's nice.
You better say me.
I'll send myself as well. Yeah. No, Ben calls them heavy hitters for a reason, and I reckon he secretly likes going to those.
He likes them.
Those things. Yeah, he loves somebody that's suited up in front of him, and he can sit there in his hoodie and hat, and talk the same language at him. So I'll send Ben in, but he likes to.
Should we tell the story about the heavy hitter we had in down on the peninsula? What happened the first meeting?
Oh no.
I don't know.
How were we trying to get in?
I don't. Well, actually,
We're at the front.
you can say. I don't know. I can't remember.
Go on.
So we met with a heavy hitter.
Oh, I do know
A
this.
big. My dad used to call them big kahunas, like big kahuna.
Well, this individual has massive kahunas.
Big grapefruit.
So we're meeting with him to do like a big pitch on sort of why he should sort of back what we're doing. We rocked up. The meeting was 10 o'clock. He lives in an absolute palace, like absolute mansion, pool, tennis court, mini putt, got the works. He lives by himself. He's an older fella. We rock up. It was 9:45. The massive gates were closed on the beach. Couldn't get in. We're yelling out his name, blah, blah, blah. Like popping over. We were all dressed up nice. We were like,
Do you have his
I don't
phone
know
number?
if he's alive or if he's dead. Didn't have he's got a personal assistant, so I had to go see his personal assistant. So I was calling the assistant, couldn't get onto her. We're trying to email her, couldn't get onto her. We're like, fuck, we got one like shot at this. Like, we can't fuck this up. And then his neighbour comes driving down and he's like, I'm just making sure you guys are not like breaking in. Like,
fair
weirdos.
enough.
Yeah.
Turns out old mate's had a hip replacement and he's been in hospital. And we're just trying to stand like out the front for the 45 minutes, like, let us in. Like, we started yelling.
You know what we did? Well, we probably shouldn't say, but there's like a fence like along the beach, so we like climbed up on the fence. We're looking over and we're like,
Where is
he in there? Like, and then we actually got worried. Like, he's an elderly gentleman. We're like, is he like got up for the day? Like, do we need to try and get in here and see what he's doing? Like,
I want to talk to you, the boys off air, because I think I might know who this gentleman could be.
we won't say names.
Yeah, we won't say names.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
we'll talk off air.
He definitely won't support us going forward. He knows that. Yeah.
So who are we not sending in,
Uh,
and why? Or well, you could make it a bit easier if you don't want to throw,
I know who I'm not sending in.
who you're not sending in.
We've-
Why? What's the reason?
I'll apologise to him in advance, but I'm not sending in Sam, our employee.
Oh really?
Yeah. He's good behind closed doors. He's a weapon on the packaging, and
Yep.
he gets that done. But old Sammy boy is not the best at writing an email, and maybe
Couple spelling mistakes.
I'm going to say
spelling it.
Sammy as well.
Mistakes,
I
yeah.
need to teach him how to use the chat GTP or whatever it's
Oh
called.
yeah. Are you guys all over
He
that?
can't
Or-
spell. Use it yesterday for the first time. It is elite.
Yeah.
I could not.
We need to get on that.
incredible.
It's great. Yeah, it's really good.
It'll save us a heap of time.
We shot it in year 12 English exam.
Oh no! Wouldn't that be nice? I was just going to say, mate. I hope you're not rocking up to meetings and looking at yourself in the mirror, and like you were at the front door. Mate, we walk downstairs and the lads are like, "Oh, we're just looking at ourselves in the windows. It feels like we're Dreamworld. Our window has some like special thing.
Warped, they said.
You're warped.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Kind of as we edge to the end. I don't know if you want to. I was going to go down another serious part. Do you
Yeah,
have
go for
another?
it. No, go for it.
What's been? I guess the bigger. I don't know. We've touched on a lot in terms of challenges, but when you look back now at everything, running a business, impacting thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, what's been your proudest moment in all of that?
There's been so many that we are proud of, and as I said before, we probably don't stop and smell the roses enough because we are extremely proud of what we've created and the impact it has on people. I've probably got two. Our community fun run event that we had, that was a massive day for us at Speak and Share, and we had 450 runners that took part in that event, but we probably had about 1,000 people down there on the actual day and we had so many conversations and people were really proud of what Speak and Share is doing, and we created that link between physical and mental health through having the fun run. So that was a really proud moment for us that we could get that many people along to an event. But I'll also just say the people that stop you in the street or the messages you get on the social media about how it is truly impacting people's lives. And we don't feel like we're incredible people or we're significant people in what we're doing, but we're just everyday blokes that have started an initiative that we find is working really well. And the amount of awesome messages we get on the serious effects that it has had on people, the significant effects, I should say, that it's had on people, and whether it be a message about somebody saying that one of their mates opened up to them that they've never done before, and we know that what we're doing is seriously saving lives and is making people's days go a little bit smoother. So that's what I'd say I'm proud of.
Yeah, I probably couldn't nail it down to one. I'd probably similar to Mace. Probably had 3 or 4 serious messages, long messages that people have sent us, and it has truly saved either their life or someone that they've known. So getting something like that through the DMs or through the email or even in person is pretty special. Knowing that you have sort of had an impact and you have possibly saved someone's life is pretty special. And as I said before, it just makes you hungry for more. Like, we just want to grow this and impact as many people as possible.
What does the next 2 to 5 kind of years look like in a dream world for you guys? What's kind of your goal? What's your vision?
Yeah, so we'll hit the Peninsula pretty hard this year, and then next year grow off the Peninsula, go regional Vic, and then we're hoping we get to a stage 5 years down the track where we're pretty much in every state across the country, facilitating the school and the sporting club program and running the fun run interstate and all the other events as well, and hopefully have the merchandise across the country as well. Got some big dreams and big projects we want to work on.
Yeah, we've probably been like natural growth to date so far and just growing as the demand is there. So continue to do that and as Ben said, like expand out as we can and bring on further people as well. So we want to bring on more facilitators at the moment. We want to make it as accessible and available to sporting clubs and schools as we can. And we feel like the program is it's a fairly simple approach, but it is effective approach from what we're doing. So if we can make it more available to more eyes, that'll be pretty important for us.
How do you get into schools? Do you have someone doing that for you, kind of thing, or is it you've got part of your staff that they do that? Or
so we probably the start of this year broke up into more set roles. So we're all across everything in the business, but we all probably report back to each other in certain roles. So that's more my domain is the schools, and then I try to look after the finances a little bit as well. Ben's all over the sporting clubs, so similar process, I guess, in the way that we do the bookings. And then corporate sponsors as well. So we want
hitters.
The big kahunas.
Big kahunas,
I'm going to start calling.
Yeah, the big kahuna.
And then Nate's probably more merchandise, socials as well. But we do all play a part in each of them.
Just I know that I probably should have asked this earlier, but when it comes to you guys running a business as a group of mates, how does it go when having to have difficult conversations within the group of you guys, but business related? So not mental health related, but either someone may have to pull their socks up or something's not working or questions be asked. How do you guys actually deal with that?
I think, as I said before, like, honesty is the best policy. Yeah. Obviously, we're running a business called Speak and Share. So if we're not speaking and sharing ourselves, it's going to go in a downward spiral. So I think we do a pretty good job at pulling each other up, whether if we're not working hard enough or, we should be doing this or should be doing that. We sort of just put it on the table, and you got to have tough conversations to sort of move forward. It is hard, but it definitely just benefits you in the long run. And
we each read a couple of books actually, and we brought in this thing where we need to get it going more about like culture days. So whether it be once a month, once a quarter, we'll just put everything aside. Like, there's always going to be so much work to do, but we'll just pencil it in the calendar and say for this whole day, we're just going off and doing something that we want to do as three best mates instead of running a business.
That's elite.
So, we've already done one of them, which was awesome.
What was that?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it awesome.
I think I saw something. I think I might have saw something.
I can show you some footage afterwards. I'd love to.
Is that the cable?
Did you just go away or something?
Cable park?
No. So we started at my place. The boys came over, got a bit of egg and bacon going on the barbecue. I wrote a little story actually as well. So I pulled together like I searched up like 10 most motivational business stories and I plucked a few together.
I love it.
And then put like our names in there as well and like each area that we fall under. So we read that story. The boys got around it, which was good. And then we went over to the cable park for the day. And we love wakeboarding. Like Nathan and me have done a fair bit of wakeboarding, so we love it. But Faz hasn't done too much of it.
Not great at it. Yeah. Still sore from it. About 3 months ago.
He had this one lap that he was doing. He got confident. He like finished his lap and he was going again. And he got like around to the last quarter, and it was the biggest faceplant I've ever seen. Genuinely reckon it almost knocked him out.
That's hilarious.
It was funny.
It has to be one in every duo or threesome. I'm the one in our duo as well. I'm useless with any of that too.
I'm not great. I'm not great. We did do surfing the other day. That footage will be coming out shortly. We both were.
Are you a surfer as well, Benny?
Nah, absolute hack. These boys are pretty good, Mason Skaggs, but I'm no good.
Yeah.
Nah, more of a land operator.
Yeah. He's a land animal.
Yeah. Feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, boys, I reckon that's all. You were finishing up there.
Awkward pause.
Well, I guess I mean, a lot of people listening will probably already know who you are, but maybe share with the listeners where they guys go and find you, social media, website, and maybe potentially. I know that's probably not in the books in the works, but when's the next big drop?
Yeah,
is there any kind of news on when people can get their hands on it? It's only just finished, so it's probably a bit hard. But
Instagram is speak__share. Website is www.speakandshare.com, and the next hoodie drop will be announced tonight at 7 p.m.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's based on one of our good mates who has an amazing story.
Yeah.
Has been through some hard times, so he's going to share his story through our platform, and
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
That's sick.
It might not be tonight.
Nah, it probably won't be. But yeah, everyone
Two
listening,
days
you've
ago.
missed it.
It's all,
Three
it's
months
all
ago.
sold out.
Yeah. By the way, is that the ink as well? Is that the wow?
Oh,
Got the
wow.
logo.
That's
Yeah.
unreal. Do you have that as well, Mace?
No, I actually didn't know you had that.
Little sunflower man. Yeah.
Wow.
Hopefully the business is
yeah.
sustainable.
That would
over coming off.
that would have hurt as well. Jeez,
Did
it's
on the
not.
shin. Yeah.
And for those listening that may want to get you boys into a community place like a footy club or it could be a school, how do we go about that?
Yeah, so mainly through the website. So we've got a little contacts form there if you want to just fill out that. We have a goal of ours that we will respond to every person that either messages us or fills out a contact form. But that's our big one for us. We want to be coming out to your sporting club or your school or your workplace. We love doing corporate businesses and that as well. So, through the website, come and book us. And then the other one, just on the merchandise, we're going to try and do like a drop every month. So
Cool.
if you miss out on one of them, there'll be another one coming, and we'd love to see you wearing the merchandise
I love it.
around.
Awesome.
But when we come on a potty, we also like to ask the people interviewing us questions as well. They can't just have all the fun. So
Sadie Ghost enter the house.
yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, last week's episode was about ghosts. Actually, we interviewed some
Yeah.
paranormal
Paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
That was, there you go.
They've just entered the room. Apparently, what's your question? I'm
Oh,
a bit nervous.
Come on, man. Look at them sit back in their chairs. Yeah. No, I'd like to know, like you asked us, the three of us, like how we go being best mates, but you two live together, you're working together on the podcast. How do you go, I guess, having those tough conversations together as well, but also finding the time to have a bit of fun together and continue on as mates?
You want me to go? I think we're lucky because we've had this relationship for a long time. We often say to ourselves, we just got to keep having fun. Like when we go down a new route, whether that be through videos or whatever it may be, we always say, just remember why we're doing this. Have fun. We don't want to get to a point where, look, it's natural with business. You get stressed, things happen. Like there's a lot to do. There's always things to do, but we try our best to. I mean, we take the piss. Like that's how we get through. We take the piss, but when I think we are awesome. Well, not awesome. That sounded very arrogant, but we are really good.
Grade 6.
We
are awesome.
I know.
Like-
We are really good at having tough conversations, and that's something I think Dos in the early days probably led them. Definitely, being able to sit down, open up, have tough conversations. Sometimes put business aside, but look, we live a life of, like I said earlier, we pinch ourselves for where we're at, where we are, what we do. Who we get to interact with. So for us, we're very lucky. But
I think we're lucky. Like it sounds pretty cliche, but like it's very hard to find a mate or a connection that you get. You just align on the exact level on like every facet of life. Like it's kind of weird.
Do you create your own luck though?
I don't know. You create your own luck. I definitely believe that, but I also feel like people are brought into your life at certain points for a reason. And D and I, we've had very similar upbringings, very similar lifestyle. Our dads had very similar businesses. We both, two sisters, only boys, same age, same school, same income, same super contribution, all of it. But I guess for us, we both wanted something more, and having someone to do that with, we started the pod, now we've started the business, and we moved out together. We ended relationships to
to be together.
To be together. But
Hang on a second.
That's what it was. Actually, really ironic timing that our previous relationships ended and we moved in together. So
yeah, there was a few question marks.
Yeah.
But it probably doesn't really align too much with that. But I guess ultimately we've had to have each other to work out what we want to do, because early days we actually didn't.
Yeah.
Like we were kind of like, we want to do something, but we don't know what it is. Like you guys had something happen in your life and you go, fuck, we want to make that change. Yep. We probably didn't have a thing, so we've just been going with it as it's flowed. So, but we've had tough conversations and we've been pretty honest and pretty brutal. And like I said earlier, I'm proud that we're doing it differently.
Yeah.
And I think too, just reflecting just now as Dos was speaking, I think that a lot of the time, nearly every day, I feel like we have both. Almost every day we have a really tough or serious, not tough, but serious conversation that'll be really focused. It might be an hour of just almost where you walk away, you guys would know this, where you've got a headache, like you're fatigued because you've been really focused and you're thinking about numbers and this and that and ideas and writing this down and emailing this person, doing this, whatever. But I don't think there's been a day where we haven't pissed ourselves laughing. Like we that happens every single day. And I think until that day doesn't come, then we're going to be pretty happy.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I really value.
Do you guys struggle with, and this is something we have over the journey too, do you guys struggle with comparing yourselves with other people in your field?
Through speak and share or personally, do you think?
Both.
Yeah.
So speak and share, it could be with other people with similar
Yeah.
businesses, or
I'm going to
personally.
say, like, speak and share wise and individually, I don't, because the way we're doing it is completely different. When I was going through high school, probably did compare myself to people, but getting older and through books I've read and podcasts I've listened to, I don't really care that much about what people think of me and try not to compare myself to others. I'm a unique individual. Mace is a unique individual. So if I just go about what I'm doing, I know that I'm doing the right thing. And yeah, in regards to speak and share, I don't think we do too much comparison whatsoever. There's some amazing organisations that are doing awesome work, but the way they go about it is completely different to the way we go about it. And yeah, that's how I look at it anyway.
Yeah, I'd probably say it comes down to belief. Like, we believe in what we're doing for speak and share, so we probably don't compare that to too many other organisations. But on that, there are a lot of amazing organisations out there doing some great work in this field. So it's probably more how we can link with them, not so much compete against them. And personally, right now, this stage of my life, I would say I don't either. I'm pretty content with who I am as a person and done things a little bit differently. Don't have the same job 9 to 5, working at 2 different places, and bought a house with one of my mates, which probably isn't a standard thing to do either. So,
No.
I'm probably pretty content with the way I've done things as well.
I asked that because that's where we've blossomed in that sense. As soon as we stopped doing that, which was probably a year and a half ago, nearly 2 years ago, that's when we started really having the best time. Because we're it doesn't really matter. Because at early days, you're starting off and you're kind of oh, they're doing that, so we should be doing that. Shit, are we falling behind? But as soon as we stopped doing that, we just started having fun.
And it's why I asked that question, because I knew you would answer something along those lines. I think it's important for people to hear that you guys put out very raw content of who you are, what you're doing each day, and you're not trying to portray a life that isn't necessarily happening. So I love that. Yeah, it is you don't work 9 to 5, and that's fine. And you live in an apartment in the city, and then you're moving up to Queensland. You do things that are different to what probably the average person works 9 to 5 and does. So I think it's important for people to see that, and I love the way you express that through your potty as well.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate. It means a lot.
What you guys have done is incredible. So we just want to commend you because watching the journey and it just grows so rapidly, but then to see even my own mum, geez, that speak and share's doing well, isn't it? It's everywhere.
It's that.
And, just hearing that, you go, wow, what you guys are doing, it's creating change. And you guys should be so proud of that. And I know probably people tell you that all the time, but we're telling you again.
Yeah, it's nice to hear. Always nice to hear,
Yeah. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank
we
you,
appreciate
boys.
it. We've been trying to do it for a while, so it's nice to get it done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do the next one in the Goldie, I reckon.
Yeah. Oh, mate, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, boys.
Love it,
See you
boys.
again. Good on you,
Thank
lads.
you.